talk about the many positives with the Carolina Panthers this season. Obviously, this team is 2-7. They're not one of the best teams in the NFL, but there's a lot of negative things that you can say about this franchise, and I have done a lot of that in the past. So I just want to say a lot of positive things about this team. For one, they went out there and they won a football game last week. They defeated the New Orleans Saints. They got beat in every single category, but yet they still won the football game, and they got Dennis Allen fired. Now, if you are a Saints fan, you may love that. If you're a diehard Carolina Panthers fan, you may hate that because Dennis Allen was one of the worst head coaches in the NFL. But despite all of that, you walked out with a win last week. You also look at it from a player standpoint as well. Chuba Hubbard is the first player that I want to talk about. He just signed a 4-year extension with the Carolina Panthers. Chuba Hubbard's been one of the best running backs in the NFL this season. And you would not know that because of the record with the team. But Chuba Hubbard is averaging 5 yards a carry. And it's not like he's getting a bunch of garbage time stats. No, he's going out there early in the game and he's making a huge impact. 5 rushing touchdowns on the season for 665 rushing yards off of 133 carries as well. And he's been able to do his thing in the receiving game. I love this for the Carolina Panthers for this standpoint. You have Chuba Hubbard, who you know is an every down back. But you also drafted Jonathan Brooks in this year's draft class as well. And he's expected to go out there and get a couple of snaps against the New York Giants. You phase out Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has not been a good running back. And I was concerned about that when they brought him over to this team. He benefited a lot from a great Philadelphia Eagles system. He played behind a great offensive line and he played with Jalen Hurts, one of the better rushing quarterbacks in the NFL, so it masked a lot of his weaknesses. As soon as he came over to the Carolina Panthers, he was not a good running back. I understand last season he dealt with injuries, but look at him now. He's still not the true number one running back with this team. And after this season, they can move off of that contract. When I look at the Carolina Panthers' future in their backfield, you have Chuba Hubbard. You just locked him down. You bring in Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks is coming off an ACL injury. That's why he was not able to play at the start of this season. And what they're going for here is a D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart 2.0 situation. D'Angelo Williams was a very good running back, and so was Jonathan Stewart. They're not going to give you the opportunity to go out there and catch your breath. And you see a lot of NFL teams now, they're not trying to go out there and pass the football around the entire game. It's going to help out your quarterback of the future, whether it's Bryce Young or someone else. So always having a dominant rushing attack will always help the quarterback see the field clearly. And it's not me just saying that Bryce Young is short, he can't see the field, because he can, but it slows the game down. So adding in Jonathan Brooks, who I do believe will be a star, and also having Chuba Hubbard as well, that's a very good 1-2 punch in the backfield, and it's going to help out any quarterback that's going to be in this situation with the Carolina Panthers long term. You look at the offensive line, that's also another positive as well. This was easily one of the worst offensive lines last season in the NFL. The one thing the Carolina Panthers got right, they brought in Robert Hunt. They also brought in Damian Lewis as well, 2 very good guards, and it's had a positive impact on this team, not only just in the rushing attack, but in the passing attack as well. It has given Bryce Young more time inside the pocket, and the same with Andy Dalton as well. We saw this offensive line last season. Bryce Young had little to no time inside the pocket. He was the second most sacked quarterback in the NFL, and he dealt with pressures on pretty much every single play. But now you look at this offensive line from tackle to tackle, they look very good, even with Austin Corbett being out for the rest of the season. And I do feel for Austin Corbett. This is back-to-back years. He has been able to stay healthy. They're going to move off of him as well, save some money in the future. You bring in Brady Christensen, who has looked very good at the center position. Short sample size, but this is a man that can play left guard. He can play right guard. He's at the center position right now. He's a very good interior offensive lineman. I do worry about Taylor Moton, because he is an older player and he's not the same player that he once was, but he is still a solid tackle to have in the NFL. And I will give Icky a lot of credit at the left tackle position. Last season, he allowed 12 sacks. It's a step up this season. He's looked better. A lot of that is because the guards that he's playing alongside and because of the coaching from Dave Canales as well. If he continues to up his play, they may exercise that fifth-year option, and not only just that, he may have a long-term deal with the Carolina Panthers in the future. So you look at the backfield, you look at the offensive line, they're in a good situation there long-term, my opinion. When you look at the wide receivers, you have Xavier Legette, you have Jalen Coker. You love to see these guys step up. Because you had Deontay Johnson, you made the trade to go out there and bring him in. You also have Adam Thielen as well. Adam Thielen is a very good veteran wide receiver. He's been out the last couple of weeks. He got hurt against the Las Vegas Raiders. He hurt his hamstring. We saw him last season have over 1,000 yards receiving. Still a very good quality wide receiver in the NFL. He's not an explosive deep threat, but he is a smart wide receiver, and he is still a very good route runner. but he's not going to be here for the next 4 to 5 years. And Deontay Johnson was a 1-year rental, basically. When the season went to hell and when they benched Bryce Young, the writing was on the wall. You had to get rid of Deontay Johnson for something. And not only just that, Deontay Johnson did have some drops, and he wasn't able to go out there and be that 50-50 ball wide receiver. We see this now with Jalen Coker, an undrafted free agent. That's a rookie. Comes over, he looks very good. He's been a very good number one option on most weeks. Not only just that, you look at Xavier Legette. They traded into the first round to select this kid. Now, I'm not saying that he looks like a true number one wide receiver, but he has a nose for the red zone. He's been a very good target in red zone situations, and you expect that because of how big and physical he is. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. On the season, 26 receptions, 244 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns. He's only averaging 10 yards a catch, but at the same time, you see the potential there. And this is still a player that can develop to the next level. Remember, Dave Canales did a lot of good work with the Seattle Seahawks, and he saw DK Metcalf up close and personal. I'm not saying Xavier Legette is going to be the next DK Metcalf, but he's going to be a very good physical wide receiver long term. So you have him, you have Jalen Coker as well, and you have David Moore. They can bring in another wide receiver, but it helps out the Carolina Panthers long term because you don't have to go out there and spend a lot of money on a top wide receiver in free agency. And not only just that, you can get you a wide receiver in the 3rd or 4th round while you're trying to go out there and figure out this quarterback situation and the defensive situation as well. And it brings me over to the defense because even though this is still one of the worst defenses in the NFL, they had a very good outing last week against the New Orleans Saints, despite the fact that they could not stop the run. Part of that is because Derrick Brown has been out for the majority of the season. He's going to continue to be out for the rest of the season. But you do have a very good cornerback in J.C. Horn, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And you can't say, well, they don't throw his way because he's just the best player on a mediocre defense. That is true, but at the same time, this man has been Mr. Consistent since his rookie season. You test him, he's going to make you pay. And I don't understand why in certain games, they don't have him travel around with the best wide receiver of the opposing team. That just comes down from Coach EJ, the defensive coordinator. But J.C. Horn has done a phenomenal job this season. He's looked very good. Despite the fact that this defense can't stop anyone on most weeks, this man has went out there and he's giving you his all. And this is also a positive as well. The team has not given up on Dave Canales and his coaching staff. They gave up last season on Frank Reich, the whole Thomas Brown situation when he was the offensive play caller and Frank Reich gave him play calling duties. Then he took him back. That was just a complete clown show at the time. I look at the Panthers now. They have the coaching staff with Dave Canales. Give him time. You will move off of Coach EJ. You'll let that contract run out. You'll bring in a brand new defensive coordinator. And I do believe that you should be in a better situation next season with better talent. Move off Jadeveon Clowney. He's just a veteran pass rusher. DJ Woonem has not been able to play a single snap this season just yet. You can move off of those guys, bring in some younger pieces on the defensive end, and hopefully you'll be in a better situation long term, especially with the defense. I do want to talk about Bryce Young here. Bryce Young has looked better. That's one thing that I will say. Bryce Young has looked better. He still doesn't look like a franchise quarterback against the Denver Broncos early in the game. He looked very good. He didn't do anything in quarters 2 and 3. Late in the 4th quarter, they got a touchdown in garbage time. But against the New Orleans Saints, he looked solid. The only interception that he threw was not his fault. He throws a dime to Xavier Legette, and the corner comes out of nowhere. He rips the ball away. I'm not saying that Bryce Young is this huge positive, but to just see him go out there and get his starting job back is a positive for Bryce Young fans. I'm going to tell you why. He controls his own destiny. If he goes out there and he plays well enough and he gets the Carolina Panthers out of a spot to where they cannot draft a quarterback in this year's draft class, they're going to have to hold on to him. There was a slight chance they could possibly trade Bryce Young at the trade deadline. But at the same time, like Dave Canales said, this was going to be a reset. And unfortunately, what happened to Andy Dalton, he got into a car accident. He hurt his thumb. That is how Bryce Young got into the situation. I still do not believe right now that Bryce Young is going to be the answer at the quarterback position. But at the same time, he gets to control his destiny. And if you are a Bryce Young believer and you still think that he can go out there and he could be a franchise quarterback in the future, he gets to control his destiny here. He goes out there, he plays very well. Even if they lose football games, if he goes out there and he plays well enough, it gives you an answer. And it gives you some type of hope that says, you know what, instead of wasting a pick on a quarterback in this year's draft class, we could possibly trade back, get some defensive players, or trade some other players and get some defensive capital to help out this defense. Because regardless, if they go out there and draft a guy like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, which I think are the only two quarterbacks that are worth a first-round pick, you still have a massive defensive problem. And I think that you can address that problem in free agency. This is also another plus as well. You're not paying a quarterback a lot of money right now. So it's a lot of salary cap this team can go out there and play with to bring in defensive veterans, not the aging veterans that you have with Jadeveon Clowney and A'Shawn Robinson. You can bring in some young defensive talent and bring in another wide receiver as well to make this entire team look better. I understand this team is 2-7. There's a lot of negative things that you can say, but I've done a lot of that in the past. I just wanted to put some positivity out there for the Carolina Panthers. And the season may be over in terms of making a playoff push, but at the same time, it's a lot of young players you can look forward to with this team. And hopefully brighter days are ahead for the Carolina Panthers. I want to see Bryce Young succeed with the team. I really do. And I hope that adding in a guy like Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard can help slow the game down even more for Bryce Young. And like I mentioned before, the offensive line is improved. He has to play better moving forward for the Carolina Panthers. And there is a chance that they go out there and they hold on to him for one more season and he could be the starting quarterback for next season. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about this video and how do you feel about the Carolina Panthers for the rest of the season? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless.